in your bed and grab him a coke. We about to sit for an hour, bullshit and tell jokes. And please don't mix it up, cause he done sobered up. Brandon T Comedy on your social media feeds. And Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy. Brandon Taz if it's your ex drinking buddy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Brennan Tassif is your ex-drinking buddy. There's going to be a graphic there. I am your host, Brennan Tassif. If you are new to the program, quick rundown of the show. I used to be everyone's favorite drinking buddy. It was my favorite thing to do. Hang out with friends, get drunk, do drugs, get in all sorts of trouble, and then reminisce about those stories. I am sober now, but that is still one of my favorite things to do. Hang out with somebody and reminisce about the crazy old days.
Never gets old.
Most weeks I'll be joined by a guest. This week is no exception. All the way from New York City, comedian James Pontillo.
From here. I came all the way from here.
Yeah, you're from here.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
What's going on? I didn't know you were sober.
Yeah.
How long?
5 years, May 31st.
Of everything or just drinking?
No, everything.
Real? No weed either?
No, I'm real sober.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's very rare to meet someone fully sober.
I know.
Usually they'll do something. Oh, I do shrooms. I do Molly. I just don't drink. But that's not really sober.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things. There are a couple comedians who will get on stage and then they'll be like, so I've been sober now for X amount. And I'm like, but you're not.
Yeah.
You just don't drink. Like say, I don't drink.
Yeah. Anything that alters the brain is not.
Yeah. And I guess if you want to get technical, I take pre-workout. I smoke cigarettes. So I guess
Honestly,
I'm doing something.
There's some days I'll take C4.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With a lot of water, and it's like being on a drug.
Oh yeah.
It's not even physically; it's just mentally. I'm off the walls.
Yeah.
I'll just be texting people like sometimes, like kick today in the cunt, like just randomly. I'll text people that when I'm on a real pre-workout fucking high. That's the best.
I fucking got all of it.
What
dude.
do you got? What do you use?
So this is what I use for pre-workout. Inhumane, not a sponsor, but Inhumane.
Better than C4?
Yeah. Well, it's not better than the old C4. I don't know if you know this because you're younger than me, but C4 when it first came out had an original formula, which had like ephedra in it and all sorts of crazy shit, and that was probably the greatest pre-workout ever made.
Nice.
And then they got into trouble.
Jack. Remember Jack?
Jack's was another one, same thing. And then they all got in trouble, so they had to alter all their formulas.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's
they
not.
Took the caffeine out. Probably better for you long term. But
it's way better.
You don't
for
get that
long.
pump.
That's why they had to change it.
Yeah, you don't get that pump.
I'll plug everything up front before we get too far into this.
I got a show at New York Comedy Club called Bitch Test Comedy, which the next one's June 6th. I'm relaunching my podcast, actually.
What is it? Talk about it.
Called Humiliated. Somewhat similar. It's just embarrassing, terrible stories from growing up. Not necessarily drinking related, just any sort of embarrassing stories.
I've got plenty of those. When are you relaunching that? When is that coming back out?
This Saturday, and then we're going to launch it this Wednesday. So I don't know how that works with the dates.
How long have you said relaunch it? So were you doing it before?
We did about 15 episodes, and I just got lazy with it, but I want to bring it back.
Yeah. Well, and that's the hard thing, too, is we were talking about this on the walk over, but it's all about content.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is
quality content.
Yeah. Well, depending on who you ask. But but I moved to New York about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago. And it was when I was in Florida, I was so anti-social media. Yeah. I was like, this is a fad. This is stupid.
Yeah, the days I don't log on, I'm so much happier.
Oh, yeah.
It's a major depressant.
It's
There's so many studies.
Yeah.
And I can't stop myself from scrolling and
checking
stories.
I just get lost in it.
And I tell myself, why are you checking this person's story?
Yeah,
what are you going to get
who cares? But I moved here.
Yeah.
And everyone was recording and doing stuff all the time. Like even every single set they would do, they would record. I audio record all my sets for me to get better as a comic. But they would video record every single thing they would do.
I think I'm the only comic. I just write down each joke and then how it did. I don't.
Oh, really?
Record, yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting
because
way to do
I think depending on audio, you don't get a proper analysis with the laughs and stuff. So
yeah,
for
that's
me,
true.
I just write down. I take notes of every set.
Yeah,
that's old school.
Yeah,
not even old school. I don't know what you would call it.
No, that's super old school.
Yeah.
Before when they had big old clunky tape recorders, they would just write everything down.
Yeah, and then I'll just if it's a new joke, I'll just write it out and then just do it on stage.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, when I got here, I noticed everyone filming everything and then content everywhere, and I was like, I was ill-equipped for that. And that's one of the biggest parts of the business now.
Yeah.
Is posting.
Yeah.
Always posting. And it's funny because
a lot of people, I think a lot of the bigger named comics, they have someone that does all that for them.
Well, and I've had some of them on this show.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I was talking to my buddy Zach, I introduced you to last night. He was on the podcast last week.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he's younger and he just moved to New York in September. And we were talking about it, and he goes, "What's it like?" Because I hang at the Stand in the Cellar a lot because it's right near my work. Yeah. And he goes, "Oh, that's so cool! Like you do that all the time, just hang out with the comics and like shoot the shit and stuff." And I go,
"Not cool."
But I was like, he's like, "What's that like?" And I go, "We talk." You know what we talk about after like a bar show or a produce show? He's like, yeah. I go, we talk about the same thing.
Yeah.
And I've had bigger comics, like huge comics on this podcast. And it's the same thing though. They're like, I got to hire somebody, but then they have access to all my stuff. And I don't know if I want to pay someone. And so it's literally the same conversation we're having. People with 500, 300,000 followers is having. Like, I don't know if I want to do that.
My roommate has an amazing camera. I asked him to record my set. He wants like $200.
Yeah.
That's you're not going to get anything less than $200.
Well, and that's the thing is when
sketches, anything, 200-300. That's
out the door. That? Yeah. Well, and then that's one sketch.
Yeah.
Then you have to edit it.
You're not going to make money off of it.
Well, and you have to edit it, and then if you put it up at the wrong time and it bombs, you got nothing from it.
And pretty much no one. And if they are making money, it's very little off reels, or you don't make money. It's just
like I've got a few friends that.
And is it worth it? Are agents? I don't think so.
Well, see, and that's the other thing too is I'm very.
It's more just about the dopamine hit of getting those big numbers.
Well, and I'm very lost in the whole thing because I've been doing comedy since 2009, but in Florida it was just like if you were good enough, your friends would put you on shows or you would start your own show.
That's how it was when I started.
And you would just do shows. And then I came up here and it's like I know people who have like not that many followers and have managers and agents, and then I know people who have hundreds of thousands of followers and they don't have an agent or anything
because they're looking for very specific things, man.
Yeah,
who could sell out rooms.
Yeah, and it's just about moving tickets, and that's another big thing is like with the one man show. I wanted to put it up on YouTube, and my director.
It's over, right? You did
it? Yeah, we did it. Boom, baby.
Nice. Where was that at?
It was at the Producers Club.
Okay.
Yeah, it was funny. I tried to get it in different theaters, and they all wanted like a section of the script and all this. And then I don't know if you've ever been to the Producers Club.
I've heard some things.
But I went to the Producers Club, and I was like, hey, I want to do my show here. And then the guy who runs it, Eddie, it's so funny. He goes, you give me the money, and you have the theater.
Yeah.
Like, there's no questions asked, nothing. He was just like, you take it.
How much was it?
It was only $500, 6 hours. Dude.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But that's what we're talking about. So then I had to hire a video crew and a director and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden,
so much money that goes into it.
It's weird, too, because... And it's a bit I do on stage, but everyone's like, chase your dreams. You have to chase your dreams.
You got to have money. But that's why that is the... Yeah. That's why I don't know why. I will never understand why comics with day jobs get looked down on. Because you need the extra money.
Yeah, you have to have it.
And it's also just... I think it just keeps your mind sharp having a regular job and just keeps you experience things in the world. And I think I'll always... I work in sales. I think I'll always keep my day job. Yeah. Even if I make like Mark Norman level money.
Well, I
just like it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I work in a restaurant, so one I get to meet,
experience things.
Well, yeah, and it's a super swanky steakhouse, so I get to meet some very famous people, like very famous, like between comedians because it's in between the stand and the cellar. So between comedians, actors, musicians, like a lot of people come into this restaurant, and then, and one that's awesome, and two. I'm talking to people all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm on stage every night I go into work. It's like if I have a bit that's clean enough, I'll drop it into conversations with a table.
There's some comics that go up and I'm like, you haven't not experienced anything.
Yeah, you haven't spoken to anybody. No. Like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about that. Like, so how long have you been doing comedy?
About 7 years.
Okay, and then you started. Obviously, you're from New York.
Yes.
So what part?
From Queens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. So you're a New York kid.
Yeah, born and raised.
So where did you end up? Like, how did you get into stand up? Like, did you discover it as a kid, or?
I always was interested in it.
Okay.
I was a screenwriting major in college, so I always kind of.
Where'd you go to college?
Quinnipiac University.
Shouts out Steve Cerruti, Quinnipiac.
Who's that?
He's a producer, co-host of some. He worked for ESPN for a long time.
Nice. Yeah.
I'm gonna clip this and send it to him.
After graduation, I had always envisioned myself on stage. It was weird, always.
Because I was even as a child.
Yeah, I was always a good storyteller in college, and but screenwriting was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And after like 6 months, I'm like, I mean, literally got nowhere with it.
So 6 months out of college.
Yeah.
And are you still
pitching to agencies, pitching this?
Okay.
I just was getting nowhere.
And where were you living at the time?
I was still home.
Okay, so you went back to Queens?
Yeah,
okay.
I did, which was super depressing. Well, it's nothing worse. I mean, there's nothing worse than that anxiety after graduating college.
Yeah.
It's really bad, especially when you're a screenwriting major or a film major and
you don't know what you're
I
do.
I know so many people in my major that don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
They just left. They just do something else.
Well, the same thing happens in comedy. How many people do we know that started it?
Yeah, but comedy, you don't take out $100,000 loan.
That's true.
That's the thing. Which is fine if you want to do something else. It's fine. But
and if you have the degree, you can get a lot of because it's just as bachelor's. It's not specific.
Yeah. Although in comedy, it doesn't matter.
No, but I'm saying like those people who give up on screenwriting, at least they have a bachelor in something.
Yeah. So, I never deeply considered it. And then I had a very close friend. We don't really talk anymore, but we were close. And one night we're at the bar in where we grew up. And he comes in and he says, I just quit my job. He worked for Wells Fargo. He had a good job. I don't know what happened exactly. But
he said, I just quit my job?
He had like a mini breakdown.
Okay.
And he said, I've been doing open mics, which this all sounds terrible. Like nothing about what he was saying. He's like, do you want to do one with me? And it was a Laughing Buddha open mic. It was in the basement of, it's now the Comedy Shop. It used to be the Village Lantern. Yep. In the basement. It was as quintessential as what you would picture an open mic be. Dark room,
if you've
dirty.
Seen Crashing, you know what we're talking about.
Dirty, and I did it, and it was like, I mean, instantaneously, I wanted to do this.
Okay. And how old were you? You were 22 at the time? 23?
Yeah, I think 23, 22 or 23, something like that.
Okay. And you were just hooked?
I was hooked.
So what happened? What'd you end up doing? Did you start going to open mics every day?
Did you start going to open mics? I didn't get booked on my first show until 2 years into comedy, which is so mind-blowing today how comics are just getting things so quick.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like bar show.
Yeah.
My first show was a place Bunga's Den, it was called. It was on West 74, something like that. It was a 12 a.m. show.
And this was 2 years into doing open mics?
2 years. God. I only did open mics for 2 years.
Were you, when you got booked,
But I think it helped me. I was better.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I was so used to performing. But that doesn't exist anymore.
Well, and it's so weird that you bring this up. I had brought a bunch of friends. It wasn't a bringer, but I had invited my girlfriend and a bunch of her friends to a show I was on the other day. And it's so crazy that you brought this up because some of the comics on the show were awesome. And then some of the comics on the show, you were like, oh, you don't have the reps to be up here.
No.
Like these people paid for tickets and like, come on, man. Like,
yeah, it's that's what I always tell myself. I got high one time and went on stage.
Yeah.
And it felt awful because in my head, I'm like, these people paid a lot of money. They paid money. It was
this recently or was this?
It was 420. And I'll never do it again. I'll never take any.
Yeah, because you're at clubs and stuff now, so that's...
Yeah, and I said that to myself. I'll never. And then it happened again with shrooms, like a couple weeks after that, and it just wasn't the same. I said I need to be totally sober. So I'm basically
when you're on stage, or
no, even in general, I've making a real effort to get sober.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I stumble every now. Like I had one drink here. I had a drink last night. Pretty much like that, but it doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah.
But I'd like to might as well just be fully sober.
Yeah, I enjoy it because...
so you're not one of those types who's like, oh, 2 drinks just to relax?
No, not at all. I don't... Yeah. No. I'm very much Frank the Tank and old school. Once it hits my lips, baby, it's so good. I just won't stop.
And there's no point of having 1 or 2.
Well, and that's what I tell people was like, it's weird because in AA... Well, I can't talk about it because it's a super secret anonymous society, but there's a...
That's why they call it AA.
There's a meeting that I go to, and it's so...
a clan meeting.
But it's so bizarre because... Sometimes people will be in there and they'll be like...
They have war stories.
Well, but what I'm talking about is the opposite. They'll be like, oh, I got drunk and texted my ex-girlfriend, like I have a serious problem, like I need to stop. And I go, that's not what we're doing here.
No.
Like I've been arrested 8 times. Like I almost died.
What was your worst arrest story?
My worst arrest story... Well, what do you mean? Like worst, the longest I was in?
Worst, like I could have been in real trouble here.
So I got arrested for 9 counts of violation of probation and I had a warrant out for my arrest. That's in the one-man show, which premieres next week on Patreon.
This must have been in Florida.
Yeah, for sure. Like but the cops like pulled their guns on me and like, get out of the car,
Wait,
get out of the car.
you were on probation from drunk driving?
No. I was on probation, but I left for drunk driving,
Okay.
but I left after 6 months.
Okay.
And then 3 years later, I got caught by the cops.
And that warrant doesn't go away?
No. Once you leave probation and they issue a warrant, it just gets worse.
Not in New York.
No. This is in Florida.
But I'm saying if you would have got pulled over in New York, they wouldn't have known.
No, because the warrant, they would have. The warrant's in the system. So, I mean, I actually don't know state to state if they would have.
How bad were you? How drunk were you when you drove?
When I drove, it's funny because the first time I got my DUI, I was hammered, but I was with a girl. So the reason I got pulled over was because the right light was red, so I had stopped, and then it turned green, but I had made my move over here, and I was kissing her. And when it turned green, I didn't notice. And then I noticed it, and I started to drive. Cop behind me. And he was like, why did you hesitate at that green light? You waited like 30 seconds before you went.
This is in Florida, right?
Yeah, they were following me from the bar, though. They knew I was hammered. It's just I mean, I think it's federal, but I know in the state of Florida they have to have a reason to pull you over.
Yeah.
So whether it's swerving or reckless endangerment, they have to
stopping at a green light.
So stopping at a green light is reckless
so they
endangerment.
can watch you drink, get in the car, and they can't pull you over. Something there has to be a reason.
There has to be a reason.
That's
so,
dumb.
but no, if they watch you drink and get into the car, they saw you drink, so they can do that. But like if I come stumbling out of a bar,
they can't do nothing.
and then I get into my car, but they never saw me imbibe anything.
Yeah.
They kind of have to wait for you to fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but they just waited and then they caught me. But that's the thing is
So what happened? You got arrested?
So I got arrested then. I mean, like I said, I've been arrested a bunch. The worst one though, as far as being arrested, was when I was in college. We were having a party at our apartment, and the cop showed up. And long story short, I told the cop, I was like, "Fuck off! You don't have a warrant." I was pre-law, so I was like, "You don't have a warrant. You're not coming into my fucking house, you dumb bitch!" And I slammed the door in her face.
Not necessary to say the extra stuff.
No, not. And then 20 minutes
warrant.
later, no. 20 minutes later, they knocked on the door, but they didn't do the cop knock. They just softly knocked. Yeah. So I thought it was like more people for the party. And I opened the door, and she ripped me out of there, slammed me on.
She was able to do that?
Dude, I was hammered.
Yeah.
And like,
but without a warrant, they could do that?
No. I got arrested for resisting arrest without violence, but nothing else.
Okay.
So the judge threw it out, and the judge was actually pissed because she was like, "You're wasting the court's time."
At them.
At the officer. She's like, "You can't arrest someone for resisting arrest if you're not arresting them for anything. You can't resist arrest for nothing."
Yeah.
So the judge was pissed, but it still ruined my night. She slammed me on the ground, slammed my head into the pavement, put her
Must
knee.
have been a big woman.
She wasn't that big. She was jacked, but she wasn't like big. She was just like ripped
Probably some
up.
sort of martial arts training, I would imagine.
Something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll never forget. She put her knee in the back of my neck and she said, "Who's the bitch now?"
Wow.
And arrested me. And I was like, "Yeah, it was me.
What?
It's
Yeah.
me."
Not much you could do about that.
No, but
And you couldn't get out, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean they got to undergo some sort of.
They have to.
training.
Yeah. How many times have you been arrested?
I've never been arrested. I've been
Look
in
at
the
that.
back of a car once.
Yeah.
For public urination. We went to school in Connecticut. Like I said, we went out drinking.
Yeah.
And I just started peeing. I had to go in the park, and the cop car was parked, hidden in the park.
It was hidden?
It was just hidden. It was dark, and pulled right up, fucking threw us both in the back of the car. Luckily, I didn't have my fake ID. Lost my fake ID.
Oh, so this was when you were young, like first getting into college?
I was 19. Yeah.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. And I got a $100 ticket for public urination. But
That's-
I've had a lot of close calls with cops.
Well, and that's the other thing too is the public urination. I know, again, this is in Florida. I don't know how it is state to state, but they can charge you with exposure.
Sex offender.
Yeah.
That was if I didn't pay that $100.
And then you have to introduce yourself to all your neighbors.
Yeah.
As a sex offender.
So luckily that got paid. And
well, let's get back before we get into some of the crazy stories. Let's get back into comedy.
Yeah.
So you got your first show after 2 years, and then you were hooked. You were hooked after your first open mic. How long did it take before you were like getting past and like performing regularly?
I got past. New York was the first club in 2020, so I started. So about 4 or 5 years. I mean, I feel like I've definitely earned anything I've got in comedy.
And you said you started 7 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be what, 2017?
But I was doing guest spots there in like 2017, so about 2 years in.
Okay.
I was doing guest spots before I was even doing like regular like shows.
Really?
Yeah, which is weird.
How did that
And I was
happen?
not ready when I started. I auditioned there actually 3 times in New York. It took the 3rd time.
How? So let's, because this is interesting to me. I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How did you get the guest spots? Were you just hanging out a lot or showing up or?
I had a friend, Dave Cyrus. He wrote for SNL. He wrote The King of Staten Island. I think he wrote on Bubkiss. He's best friends with Pete Davidson.
Okay.
So he did the roast over there a lot.
Yeah.
And I just started hanging out, and then I started doing the Comedy Fight Club ones.
Okay.
And then Dave introduced me to the owner Emilio, and then Emilio said, "Yeah, we should get we'll get you up on it." And I think my first match was against Maddie Smith.
Oh wow.
Which is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
And I did
Maddie
great.
Smith's a killer, dude.
Dude, she is, and I did great. I won. Which was not supposed to happen. And then I just caught Emilio's eye from there, pretty much.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then he started giving me guest spots and regular spots. Then I started producing the show there and just kind of worked my way up.
Oh, see, and that's fucking fantastic.
I did very much from the ground up.
Yeah, I love hearing that.
Yeah, it was all performance-based, in my opinion.
Yeah, because sometimes, like we were talking about earlier, sometimes you see people get stuff and you're like, but
Now it took me years and years.
Yeah, it's like, wait, what?
That doesn't bother me because I feel like if those people don't get good, they'll fall off.
Yeah, well, and it's funny.
And it's happened. I've known comics years ago that were getting a lot of stuff, and now no one even knows who they are.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring that up because the host of my other podcast, The Power of How, Matt Fulcheron, he tours with Segura and Tosh, and he's he was in LA for a long time, but he's been in New York for about 5 years. And I remember when I first moved here, I was so frustrated because a few of my friends blew up on social media during the pandemic.
That's frustrating.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I was talking to him and I was like, some of these cats are only like a year or two into comedy and now they're touring all over. And he said, he goes, listen, man, if they're not any good, they'll get one run of tours. Then when they come back for their next run, it's going to be the same thing or it's going to be bad. And then it's it. It's over.
Could not be more right.
Yeah,
there was
like,
a comic.
Relax.
There was a female comic. I'm not going to name names. You wouldn't even know her, but I just don't want to name it. She was really rising up. She was good, but definitely getting stuff she didn't deserve. Ends up opening or featuring from Michael Che.
Oh, wow.
I believe it. Big spot, totally bombs, wasn't ready, quits comedy. Or at least that's the story, yeah. But it was one of those people, you're like, why doesn't this person do comedy anymore? They were good. Yeah. Like, she was genuinely funny.
Yeah.
And
but that was just so traumatizing.
I don't think this crowd knows my opinion on female comics, but she was good. And if anyone should be doing it, it would be her.
Yeah.
But I guess just got an opportunity too soon. I think that I hear about this with comics a lot. They get these big opportunities and just bomb. Yeah. And that, to me, is so much worse than waiting, and then finally...
Yeah, I was talking about this with Onika last night.
Yeah.
Because...
who's a killer. I mean, she's a beast. She's so good.
Yeah.
Onika. And that took her years.
When we were talking about it last night, where I was just like... I feel like, because we were talking about making progress and destiny and all whenever I talk to Onika, it's always like these big philosophical conversations. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I don't know what I'm doing because I don't think any of us know what we're doing. And she looked at me and she goes, Brennan, you're going to get to wherever you're going. You're going to get there. So just relax.
Yeah. And I have a comic friend, a very close friend, who's always complaining. This person got this, texting, He'll like come to shows, just complain and complain.
Really?
That's all he does, yeah. And he's a good comic. And I'm like, look, if I'm not... My philosophy is I'm not where I want to be. It's my fault.
Yeah, 100%.
And I do that with everything in life.
Oh, yeah.
You do that with... And that's why I think...
You just hit a personal best at the gym, speaking about not being where we want to be. There we go. You made it happen.
Such a good relation... There's such a good correlation between the gym and comedy.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Because you really do have to put the work in.
Every day.
Even when you don't want to.
Yeah, and that's... So now... So you start to... You get Emilio's Eye.
Yeah.
You start to get booked on more guest spots, and then you audition. How does the first audition go?
First
you said
audition
it took 3.
goes well, but I clearly wasn't ready.
Okay.
And Amy,
was that the conversation that you ended up having with him?
No, this was Amy. This was the booker there. Just said it's good, but you didn't... I forgot the exact words. You didn't really feel grounded.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second audition,
about
you're
8
like...
months later, they were pretty far apart, 8 to 10 months.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't like...
Yeah, it was for a competition. It was for like their fall, whatever, competition.
Okay.
And she said a lot of improvement. You showed a lot of growth, but you're not going to advance. And but me being a realist saw that as the positive parts.
Yeah,
gotta keep showed working. Improvement, showed growth. I felt better. I felt more comfortable up there. And then finally, the third audition was January of 2020, right before COVID. Nailed it.
Crushed it.
Got passed. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
So I didn't mind waiting those 3 years because it's how I developed. And now I feel so comfortable up there. I mean, I feel comfortable. I'll be honest. I don't think there's a stage in the country, maybe Madison Square Garden, that I wouldn't feel, but that I wouldn't feel comfortable doing. Yeah. Not saying I would always kill, but that I wouldn't feel pretty comfortable doing.
It's weird. I talk to this with regular people in the real world. When they find out I do comedy and podcasting, they always go, "Oh my God, I could never get up on stage." And it's like, oh, I've been doing this.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for so long that my life
reps. It's like the gym.
With,
you gotta put reps in.
My life with a microphone is more comfortable to me than trying to remember my life without a microphone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
same.
I've always had a platform, and it might be a tiny, small platform, but I've always had a platform to be like, hey, let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And it's just weird to think about. Like some people are like, I could never. It's like, oh well.
Yeah.
As Brad Pitt says in Troy, that's why no one will remember your name.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I don't mind putting the time in.
So
doesn't bother me one bit.
Let's get to and then you already plugged all your social media, but you have that show June 6th, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Where's that at?
That's at New York Comedy Club.
So fucking check it out, man. Everybody go see James.
We got a good lineup.
Eagle Wit,
Dave Neal.
Okay.
Abby Washuta.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a good lineup.
And you said you produce it? You book all the
Me and Katie Haller, yeah.
Okay. Damn.
Who's a great producer also.
Look at you. Look
It's a lot
at
of fun.
you.
Producing is its own animal. Totally different than like stand up itself.
People are like, "Oh, you should do it. You should start your own show. You like know all these comics." And I go, "Absolutely." Like, no.
The organization you need is
Well, not only that, but like I got a lot going on.
Yeah.
I've got the 3 podcasts.
If you don't have the time,
it's like
if you don't have the time, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, and it's like I've talked to my friend. I have friends that do a weekly show, and I go,
Yeah.
"You're out of your fucking mind, dude," because I just know the stress that I get from the podcast. I couldn't imagine, and that's me doing everything.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't imagine like every week having to book comics and like promote it and do all this, and then the next like 3 days later, you're like, well, we got to start again.
Yeah, there's this expression, I don't know who it's from, some philosopher. It's like if you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to other things.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset. All right, I'm saying yes to doing the show, but no to maybe doing what you do, growing a podcast, because you only have so much time.
There's only so many hours in a day, and like we talked about earlier,
I don't want to be one of those people that just does everything for the sake of doing them.
No, you can't.
Quality.
Well, and that's the thing too is, I mean, before obviously the one-man show and the move and everything, we were doing this in the studio, like the full regalia.
What studio?
Gotham. We love Gotham. We're
never performed there.
Well, it's a podcast studio, so it's really cool. It's where Mark and Sam do We Might Be Drunk, but. Okay. They've got a bunch of rooms, and we love Gotham. It's just one of those things where financially you have to make decisions. Where it's like, well, the one-man show's coming out, so
that's what
doing that is.
Do I want to put money towards sketches or clips?
Yeah.
So
well, and that's the cool thing about doing the podcast currently in its current form with the video and everything is it's like, oh, we can just clip whatever we want as much as we want. And like we were talking about on the way here, then you could just delete the clip and repost it. Nobody fucking knows.
Yeah.
I had people, this is hilarious. I was doing like a best of clip. So I had like one set with Emma Willman and Natalie Cuomo.
They did it
No. They did it at the studio. Oh. And then I had another set with Joe List and Michael Rowland. Okay. And I would post those. And then people were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you booked those guests." I'm like, "This is from 4 months ago. Yeah. Like, I'm just reposting. Like,
doesn't matter.
Nobody cares." So let's get into college.
I have a sneeze coming on.
Do you? Bless you.
Sorry.
I was wondering.
It was one of those slow sneezes that doesn't hit right away, but like, you know it's coming. Yeah.
So you got into trouble in college, you had said, but
Quinnipiac was just a.
It's not a party school, is it?
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. I mean, it's not as big as like a Syracuse or. Whatever, one of those, but yeah, it's as much of a party school.
Oh, absolutely. Really? I didn't know that.
Huge party school, but just smaller, only 4,000 students. So, which is weird because like you'd go out, get drunk, do all these things, and you knew everyone.
Yeah.
So you would see them on campus the next morning. It wasn't like a bigger school
where you could just go to a party and then never see those people again.
Yeah, if you hooked up with someone, you'd see them. It was just, it was crazy.
God, so when did you actually start? Because you said you have some stories from high school. When did you actually start drinking?
Drinking heavily, probably my junior year of high school, but I would say college is where I really
opened it up.
College is where I discovered Four Locos, and if you haven't ever had a Four Loco, be thankful. Did you used to drink those?
I drank one of them one time. Again, back to the pre-workout conversation, the original formula. Back in the day.
God,
when it first came out, we were like. Because I used to have that idea where it was like, oh, I wish they would make an alcoholic energy drink because I'm so tired.
Yeah.
And then they did, and then like kids were dying. And we were like...
Four Locos were $4 for the can, and you'd get...
It's this big, 32 ounces.
Wasted.
Yeah.
Disgusting. Probably the worst tasting thing I've ever had. But you would get blackout. I mean, people would like... You were literally bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, because it was...
We'd go into New Haven. That was like the big party.
Okay.
That was like... we'd go to New Haven's Thursday nights. And chug those. We didn't have money because we were freshmen in college.
Yeah.
And just it was just by.
Why did you go to Quinnipiac?
For film, we had a great film program.
Okay.
And
but that's so like it wasn't one of those.
Campus. I love the campus.
Okay. Because it's weird, because coming from Florida, where we have some of the biggest universities in the country, like the University of Florida, Florida State, Miami, it's always interesting to me when people go to smaller schools. I'm always curious as to why.
I wanted to be away from home, but I didn't want to have to fly home.
Okay.
So that was a good...
because you drove here. You love driving.
I do,
You're a big drive guy.
Yeah. I got my car in July. It already has 32,000 miles.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you drive a lot for shows, like out of state and stuff?
Always, yeah.
I
drive. I won't take trains or buses. I just won't do it.
Wow.
I refuse.
See, and this is interesting because in New York, almost everybody's the opposite of that. Like everyone I've met, like either doesn't have a car or has a car but rarely drives it.
Yeah.
But you're like, no. Like you texted me to come in here and you're like, oh, there's traffic. And I was like, is he driving from one borough to another?
Well, you're in full control when you drive.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be I don't want to be dependent on train delays or Uber's canceling. I want to know that
This is where I'm going, and I know how to get there.
Yep.
So when you get to Quinnipiac as a freshman, you obviously chose the school.
It was a crazy change.
Yeah, so take us through it. What happened? So you're living at home, obviously, through high school in Queens. Yeah. You're going to school in New York, and then when you go to Quinnipiac, were you blown away or like?
I was blown away. I didn't know anyone. I mean, we had there was 8 of us. No, 8 of us in our dorm.
Oh wow, okay.
4 bedrooms.
So 2 beds each.
Yeah, in a room. It was very tight, and it was insane. The school was 66-33 female male ratio, so it was much more women because it's a health science school, so like nursing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I bet it was nursing and stuff like that.
Everyone was hot. It was a very attractive campus.
That's awesome.
A lot of rich white kids from New England.
Yeah,
not me, but a lot of the other kids. And this, I would say, especially more towards senior year, we would probably drink starting Tuesday to Sunday. Each night. So by the time you were a senior, how did it get there? Take us through it. Like, how did you get from a freshman being blown away of all the stuff to being a senior drinking 7 or 5 days a week? I mean, drinking was just a big part of the culture. Was it as soon as you got there? Yeah, right off the bat. I mean... So you said you started drinking as a junior in high school. Were you like a party guy through the rest of your high school? Yeah. Like we'd go to parks and stuff, but it was nothing like when I got to college. Okay, yeah, because doing the show, I've discovered a lot of different avenues where there's some people who went to parties like once a month or every couple of weeks in high school, and then they did kind of the same thing in college. And then there's people like me who I was straight edged all through high school until my senior year. Yeah. And then when I started drinking, I was like, oh, this is fucking awesome, and just kind of rode that wave. So you're kind of in between. Well, especially because New Haven was, so many of us went there. They had college night and discounts and stuff like that. They wanted you to drink. And so when you get there as a freshman, is one of the first things you do is crack open a beer? Yeah, so one of the first night. No, it was the first Thursday. Okay. I get back from class. I had a 5 o'clock class, and I didn't know in college Thursdays are the big night. Yeah, huge. Thursdays are probably bigger than Friday. Most people, because most people have off Friday. Yeah. They don't schedule classes on Friday. Yeah, Thursday's the biggest night, I would say. So we get back, and my roommates are drinking, and we're pretty good friends at that point. Yeah. In terms of you live with someone that close, you should be friendly with them. Yeah, especially it takes a week, and then you're like, so right. I'm like, I don't know, it's Thursday. This is what I'm saying. I don't know, it's Thursday. I don't know. Within a week, I was drinking before class and going to class fucked up. And my first semester, I failed English, which is if they could see you now. Yeah, I did not make the adjustment well from academically to drinking. I did not balance that my first semester at all. Yeah, I think I had a 2.1 or something. Awful GPA. So wait, this is fun. So you walk in and you're like, what are you guys doing? It's Thursday, I don't know. Yeah. Do you remember that first night though? Do you remember what you guys did? Drinking night, we went to New Haven. There was a bar. And you said was this Four Loko too? Or had you graduated? No, it's still Four Loko. There was this bar in New Haven called Russian Lady. Shouts out Russian Lady. Russian Lady, which was just your typical, I don't know if you know New Haven. It was your typical college. Okay. It was your typical college bar. Yeah. At the upstairs, the downstairs, and I just remember getting blackout. And I remember, I don't know how this happened. I don't remember if this was the first night or another night, but I end up at Yale University because Yale's in New Haven. Yale. And I'm sitting here with all these Yale students, all these Yale freshmen, and I end up in one of their dorms, and we're all just hanging out. And I'm just like, man, what's going to happen to us? Just all because we were smoking after. Yeah. And they're like, well, we go to Yale, so we'll be fine. We don't know who you are. You kind of just snuck in. You just kind of snuck in. And I'm here they're dicks. Kids that go to Yale are assholes. Yeah, they're fucking the pieces of shit. Biggest Have you ever seen Gossip Girl? They're terrible people. Ivy League kids are terrible. I mean, yeah, they'll get great jobs and stuff, but they're awful people. God, so they were this, and it's so funny. So they had no. I assumed maybe. I mean, they knew I was where I went. You were trying to pass off that you went to Yale. No, they knew where I went to school. And you just ran into them at the bar and then ended up at their dorms? Yeah, something happened. How that's the fuzzy part where I don't remember. That's happened to me before, too, where I've woken up on someone's couch with obviously just clearly passing out and being like, we're not at the party house anymore. How did I get here? And then freshman year, there was the lacrosse house, which is... If you were cool with the lacrosse was big on campus. Yeah. It was a big lacrosse hockey school. Okay. So if you were cool with them, you could go on Friday nights was the lacrosse house. You would go. Disgusting. Just a fucking disaster home. Like, you would never want to live there ever.
But it was a big party
But
house.
it was a huge. But the thing is, a lot of the girls hooked up with the lacrosse players.
Yeah.
So it was a very low chance that you'd hook up with someone. But you'd get drunk and you'd have a good time.
Have a good time, yeah.
So we used to go there, and I fell asleep once with my shoes on. I don't know if you know this, but you can't. If you in college, at least my school, if you black out or you pass out with your shoes on, it's free range. People can do whatever they want to you.
Okay.
So I had many, many, many cocks drawn on my face. I remember spending a good chunk of the morning washing that off.
God.
Yeah.
So when this is awesome. So when do you stay in the dorms the whole time?
What do you mean?
When you're at Quinnipiac?
Yeah, just for like holidays. That was it.
No. But I mean not just the freshman year. I mean, do you?
Well, you couldn't have cars on campus freshman year.
Okay, and then
So,
when do you move off campus?
We don't move off campus until we moved to a different campus junior year.
What do you mean?
There was 2 campuses.
Okay.
There was Mount Carmel, which was for the freshmen and sophomores, which was more of your traditional.
Oh, so they have separate campuses for
Yes,
the
yeah.
grade. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so-
like at FAU where I went, it's a public university in Florida. It's in South Florida. They've got like 7 campuses, but it's for college.
Yeah.
So like they have the marine biology campus, they have the honors campus. So it's like, and then they have the main campus, and then they've got a few other like satellite campuses.
Yeah.
But basically, like if you went to FAU, you went to
Yeah.
FAU in Boca.
Yeah.
But for you,
No,
at Quinnipiac, there's like freshman sophomore campus.
There's Mount
and then-
Carmel,
okay.
which was like your freshman sophomore, your more traditional college campus.
Yeah.
And then a quad. Junior year, York Hill, which is just up a big hill. I can't even explain
How
it.
far is it from Carmel
it's,
Mountain?
It's close. You cross the street, maybe walk 15 blocks.
Okay.
But there was a
Okay, so it's not like you're going to a different
there
city.
was a bar junior year. The only bar. Oh, wait, so there's something called Whitney Road.
Okay.
That was kind of the road that the school went through.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And there was this bar called Andalays, which was in town. If you didn't feel like going to New Haven, people went there a lot. And that was it was clearly like the owner had a deal with the cops because
Yeah.
every underage kid went there. Like no
You
one
had
got
mentioned
denied.
New Haven before. How far was New Haven from?
15 minutes.
Okay.
You'd have to take a shuttle.
Yeah, I was gonna say because you can't drive freshman year.
No, well, even after you would take a shuttle because we were
You'd get
drinking.
fucked up, yeah.
Yeah,
That's so
but Andalays
responsible.
was a fun hang too.
As someone with 2 DUIs, I think that's incredibly responsible.
Yeah, yeah. The school was smart about that. They had
'Cause it's
shuttles
one of those
running
things-
Saturday nights.
Yeah, it's like they're gonna do it. Like let's avoid
Yeah,
the horrific consequences that come with people getting hammered and,
and there
getting
really
behind the
were
wheel.
no like bad DUI incidents at my school.
That's awesome. They were looking out for you guys.
Saturday, well, they're probably looking out for themselves. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Liability
Saturdays,
and
there was
such.
There was this dance bar called Toads,
Okay.
which is pretty infamous in New Haven.
I know Toads only because Cerruti talks about it when
It
he's
was
on the radio show.
the Mecca.
Yeah,
I mean,
Toads.
it was
I know Toads.
disgusting, dirty, but pretty much every Saturday night through college, we would go there.
Okay, and that was
People
in
would
town.
always try to do their own thing. Like they'd be like, "Oh, that's Toads is gay," but you always ended up back there. Like you just couldn't compete.
So when is this? Is Toads in the? Is it on Whitney or is
It's
it
in New Haven.
Oh, that's in New
No,
Haven.
that
Okay,
was
so
in New Haven
Andalays was
there.
the only one that you could go to.
Once I got to junior year, there was a bar called Side Street, which they carded, but they were more lax.
A little loosey goosey about it.
Yeah, we had a bar called DeMille's, which was a little bit more. Our senior year, we moved to a house on the Cheshire Hamden border.
Okay.
So it was down more, away from campus, and DeMille's was close to that.
Okay.
And then there was a bar called Anchi's, which was Friday, strictly for seniors. Like they were a strict 21 and over bar.
Oh, okay.
Like you couldn't even if you were a hot chick underclass, you couldn't get in.
Oh wow.
Like they were very strict about it.
Were some of the upperclassmen dudes like, come on, guys? Like,
I don't
let
think
'em-
so. I think they were really. It was like known.
Okay.
So when we did, but then it made you appreciated senior year so
Yeah.
much more.
Oh yeah, because you're finally there. You can go.
Yeah, and it had a backyard, it had an upstairs, had a patio.
Classy.
It was like a very nice place.
Classy.
Like it was a very fun place, and that was every Friday night. So you'd go there Friday night. So your weekends were pretty planned.
Well, and then you said by the time you were a senior, you were drinking Tuesday through Sunday.
Yeah. So Tuesday there was a place called Side Street.
Here we go.
Which was down Whitney.
Here we go.
25-cent wings, a brilliant marketing plan. 25-cent wings. I think the beers were like $2 or something.
God, love it.
Wednesday you'd go to Andalays.
Yeah. Stay close to home.
Thursday was Russian Lady. We would go to. Russian Lady was pretty much there all throughout college.
Yeah.
Friday was Anchi's. Saturday was Toads. So you pretty much had 5 nights. You knew a bar. Every bar had their own night.
Yeah.
But I had a bunch of fakes when I was an underclassman.
So how did you start acquiring these fakes? Because I've never had a fake ID in my life.
Sketchy sources.
Okay, so
I had a Massachusetts one my sophomore year, which was awful, just laughable.
Were you like meeting people and like they were like, "Hey, I can get"?
No, it was
on
the internet.
Yeah, okay.
I forgot those days trying to get a fake ID. They
Yeah,
were tough.
well, because I worked in restaurants since I was 15, so I always knew older like cool people who would like buy me booze.
All these bouncers at like these bars and clubs in college, they all knew it was fake. To them, it just had to be passable.
Well, that was the thing too. Is like working in the service
they had
industry.
To cover their skin.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, working in the service industry now to this day, if someone shows me an ID, and it's of age, I'm not a detective. Like, I'm not the police. I'm not going to try and decipher. And then my bosses will be like, oh, well, if they're under 8. And I go, listen, they showed me the ID. Yeah. It said they were of age. Like, what else do you want? I'm not the cops. Like, what else do you want me to do?
Yeah, I did a Massachusetts. Well, I guess because this was 2014, 2013, they had better technology. They had some stuff where it could scan, but I don't know how efficient it was.
Back in like 7, 8, 9 when I was still, when I was living in Florida, and I was playing college football, but then I would work at the restaurant in the off season. During like spring break and stuff, I never carded anybody.
No,
I'd just be like, yeah, we're here to party. Let's go.
Well, this place Andales, which didn't really card, it was this big fat Mexican guy with like a mullet. Yeah, Roberto, who was awesome. Like everyone liked him. He just didn't care. Yeah, he gave like the hot chicks free drinks. Like who gives a shit? It was underpriced, which normally that's not the case when they're letting in underclassmen. It's normally
because they can get your money.
Packed. I mean, it was.
So he's making money hand over fist. He's got a little something with the police in the area.
It had to have been. And there was also this liquor store called Honey Farms, which also must have had a thing with the police because they used to sell to like anyone.
Everyone.
Yeah. So, and then eventually, like, both of them got raided or got cracked down. And my theory is, like, they were probably paying off the cops and they just stopped. And then the cops are like, all right, we're going to...
Well, yeah, and then, time...
That's all I could think of, because why would they all of a sudden get raided?
Well, time takes time. Like, a lot of times what happens is, like, the people you're paying off, then they get promotions or they get fired. And then you try to pay off the new people and they're like, we're not about that. And then all of a sudden they're like, they tried to pay us off, let's go raid them. And you're like, fuck. Yeah. Because it can go sideways very quickly in those situations.
Yeah, it can.
So you said
New Haven didn't fuck around. Like New Haven, you had to be 20.
So did you not start going to? You said you started going to New Haven though as a freshman sophomore though.
Yeah, well, to get in. Once you got to the bar, it was easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Or you'd get like a friend to buy you if they had a fake.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you had the fakes too.
But Toad's was just an animal house. I mean, there was the center. When you walk in the main dance hall, the whatever, and then there was the stage.
There's a main dance hall here. It was 1932.
But I did the Barstool Blackout. Barstool was even around when I was in college. Had a blackout tour. That was the first time I did Molly. It was like a random Thursday night. I did Molly. Didn't know what to expect.
What was happening? How did you end up?
Ever.
How did you end up in the situation?
My friend just asked, "Do you want to do Molly?" And I said, "Yeah." Ended up hooking up with this super hot chick, which I don't know if you haven't done Molly. It's like, first of all, it takes away all your fear. Yeah. You have no fear of anything, which is not good necessarily. You should be fearful a little bit.
It's a survival tactic.
So I was talking to everyone, and I ended up like hooking up on this chick on the shuttle back. And then we ended up just going. I'm like, "Hey, let's go to the quad." We ended up just sitting on the fucking grass at night.
In the quad?
Yeah.
Did you get caught?
No, I mean you could. It's not the campus is technically open.
Yeah.
And we ended up we just ended up bullshitting for like 2 hours.
Wow.
On Molly, and the next day was fucking awful.
Yeah, because it takes out all your dopamine.
The Molly come down makes you like suicidal almost.
Yeah, it literally takes out all the dopamine in your system.
It probably took, I would say. That was a Thursday night. It probably Sunday until I was back to normal.
Damn.
It knocks you out. It wipes you out. So that's why I don't do drugs any drugs like that anymore.
So you said,
but there's a funny story linked to that. So there was this girl I really liked when I was a junior, and I'm trying to remember the story now. So I really liked her, and she had an ex who was like crazy, and I guess she
wouldn't go to Quinnipiac.
Yeah, right. So she wouldn't end up. She didn't really hook up with me because they were kind of talking, and then I found out that this guy was hooking up with a friend of mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he was like kind of talking to her, and then so I broke the bro code and told her this. I'm like, hey, you shouldn't fuck with him. His name was Shane.
Fuck Shane.
Yeah, you shouldn't fuck with him because he's hooking up with the girl. His name was Meg. I'm like, he's hooking up with Meg, so just He
Stay
doesn't
away.
care about you, which I wouldn't do that today because I learned, yeah. But when you
He
want
doesn't
pussy,
care about you. That's so sweet.
yeah, I do. And so he ends up finding out about this.
And then kills you.
He runs into me. This is 2 weeks after the Molly incident.
Yeah.
He ends up very intense altercation at Toad's. You know, basically,
What happened? Take us through it.
I would fuck you up. He said, like, if there weren't people here, like, watch your back.
And you're not a fighter.
Not really. I mean, I take martial arts now, but
So in the moment, though, were you like freaking out?
it was tense.
Mouth gets
And
dry.
he was one of those very tall. He was very lanky.
Yeah.
So very tall, which I had never fought a tall person before.
It's hard. They've got reach.
Yeah. So all right, that ended up that. So that got broken up. I kind of just like played it off like I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah. What do you mean?
Yeah. 2 weeks later, I or like 3 weeks after that, end up doing Molly. And Molly, have you done it?
No, I've done ecstasy, but not Molly.
It puts you in like an amazing mood.
Yeah, that's what
So
I
I
hear.
was in the best mood ever. So I was just so happy. I'm like, I want to text him and I want to apologize. So I'm asking everyone his number, all our mutual friends. I'm like, could you have Shane's number? Like, I just want to talk to him. I just want to like apologize. And
This is when you're on
everybody
Molly?
knows this is at Toad's, and
Okay.
everybody knows this is a bad idea. They're like, no.
So this is after the confrontation.
3 weeks after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone knows this is a bad idea. And I finally get his number. I text him, look, I'm sorry. There was some confusion. There wasn't. Like, it was very obvious what I did. I'm like, I don't want to have that. And apparently, he had forgotten about it. And this was just a reminder, which is why you need some fear.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So that triggered him off again. Luckily, nothing ever ended up happening. We did go to a mutual friend's. We did run into each other at a mutual friend wedding like a year and a half ago, and he seemed fine.
Yeah. That's years later.
Yeah, he was okay. He was nice.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
God.
He was from, like, the ghetto in Massachusetts, like some ghetto Massachusetts. From what I heard.
Fucking. Yeah.
But from what I heard, he lives in Wyoming now.
Fucking Southie, dude.
Yeah, he was one of those
Yeah,
types,
yeah.
like those, like an extra in a Mark Wahlberg
Yeah,
movie
yeah.
type. But I think he
A
lives
Ryan
in, like,
O'Toole kind of guy.
yeah, I think he lives in, like,
you.
Wyoming now or something.
So you said you got into
Well-
the pee thing was just one scrape with the police. You
Yeah.
said you almost got into some
Yeah, in
trouble
college
a few
we would
times.
drink. In high school we drink at the parks, and the cops would always come, and we'd have to run off. Oh no, one time it was our senior. It wasn't prom. It was like formal.
Okay.
It was like maybe the month before prom, and we were drinking in the park, and the cop
This is
ends up,
high school?
Yeah, senior year, and cop ends up pulling us over, and it was like the four of us, and like snooping around and everything, you know, because we were drinking, but it was in town. So, and then they ended up just letting us go and following us. Not kind of anticlimactic, but that was like, I haven't, well, you know, one time me and two friends got stopped by like beach police. We were smoking weed at Jones Beach. And
Okay.
and they made such a big deal about it. They're like examining it. And the fucking joint, it was a birthday cake joint. Like it just had birthday cake. He's like examining. I'm like, what are you looking at?
Isn't it weird now that like it's all legal?
Yeah. But back then, man, it was. But I never was booked in prison or jail. Never had to spend
awesome.
the night. Yeah, I'm very fortunate.
So you said you're trying to just kind of lay off of everything now.
I mean,
Was there
I've abused different types of drugs and alcohol so much.
I was going to say, was there a
miracle I'm
moment where you were kind of like, maybe I should slow down? Was it getting high on stage and being like, oh,
well,
fuck?
I am a very angry drunk. So even
Yeah.
throughout college, I would fight.
Really?
Not angry like violent, just like lashing out at people.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I've dated a few of those.
Yeah. So I would just start fights for no reason.
Just with random people?
If something rubbed me the wrong way, I would. And this was as late as February of this year. Yeah. So I'm like a very to the point where like I don't.
You were going to say like,
Yeah.
pre-pandemic.
Yeah, to the
You're
point.
like, no, this happened like 3 months ago.
Yeah, to the point where like I don't know how anyone would still talk to me because I would just.
You were that bad?
I was that bad, and I would read texts the next day. I'm like, this is wow.
God.
Yeah. So I had to slow down.
Yeah.
And to me, the way I see it is I've been drinking heavily since I was like 16,
Yeah.
which I was still a kid then. So I've never really experienced adulthood sober. Maybe, I don't know if that came into your mind when you got sober.
It's interesting when I first got sober, and I've talked about this before, but I had to relearn how to do a lot of things because I had been drinking heavily since I was like 17, 18.
Yeah.
So like going to the movies sober was a new experience, you know, going out with friends, doing comedy. It's where I had to relearn how to do stand up.
Yeah.
'Cause
that's
I had-
improved a lot since I'd say drastically cut down drinking.
Yeah.
Because like I said, as late as February, I was a drinker. Mm-hmm. So I've been going back, I try not to beat myself up if I have a drink.
Yeah, you can't.
Because I'm not, as long as, like I had one last night. I was going to have two, and then you just stop yourself.
Yeah. See, I'm always envious of people who can do that because, like I said, once I start, I'm like, oh, I'll burn everything.
Well, I don't know what it is, but just getting older, alcohol's made me more and more depressed.
Yeah.
Like I just get...
I mean, that's how I was towards the end. I remember the last time I drank, I just started drinking. It was my 30th birthday.
Yeah.
And it's a long story. It's in my one-man show, which is coming out next week on Patreon. But I just started drinking, and then I was so upset that I just kept drinking. Then I got more and more depressed, and I just kept, and then literally ended up in the hospital because I was like,
yeah. And not drinking, I think what's scary about it is it really forces you to face problems, your problems.
Oh yeah,
your personality flaws. Whereas if you're drinking, it's like, oh, it's 7, I could start drinking, I could put this off.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's the hard thing too is actually because I'm fully sober and being sober for coming up on 5 years. It's weird because when I snap at people at work or I lash out, I'm like, oh, that's me.
Feel.
That's who I am.
Yeah.
Because I'm bipolar, but I don't take medication for it because the medication really fucks you up as an artist.
Yeah.
It zonks you out, and it really...
You definitely can't drink if you're taking bipolar meds.
Yeah.
Because my cousin's bipolar. He had to stop drinking.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is like with bipolar, the meds, it fucks with me creatively.
Yeah.
So I just
you have no creativity.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't take these. Like I can't write. I can't take these.
Yeah. I must be on bipolar meds.
Well, so then the benefit though
that explains why so many comics can't write. Actually, now that
all the meds that they take. But
I actually don't take meds.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm happy about. I'm not putting people down who do. It's just something I never wanted to start because I feel like it's a slippery slope then.
Well, and that's when I was like 22, 23, I wanted to stop drinking so much. So I went to a psychoneurologist and he prescribed me Adderall, Klonopin, and Xanax.
Oh, how much time do we
Yeah,
have?
we
That's
can do
another
one more.
thing. Adderall. I used to abuse Adderall when I was in college. Yeah, I would take Adderall like late at like 11 o'clock.
At night?
And be up until like... Adderall does very similar. If you drink with Adderall, it has a very similar effect to an amphetamine.
Yeah.
Well, it is an amphetamine, but like it's very similar to Molly. Maybe one step below it, but...
So you would just pop Adderalls at like 11, 12?
Yeah, and just go out and just be super happy, no worries, and then the fucking crash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we used to do Adderall.
I would text my parents. I loved them.
And like
from like college.
5 in the morning.
Yeah, and like college. It was just weird, the stuff I would do.
We would do Adderall too, but it was only as a study, not only, but we would do it a lot as a study aid because where I went to school, a lot of my friends, we loved the feeling of getting fucked up and drunk.
And that's what Adderall did.
Well, so for us, Adderall would keep us from getting drunk. Like it would hype us up, but we wouldn't feel like the drunk feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's an upper. And alcohol's a depressant.
Yeah, you weren't stumbling, slurring your words.
Yeah, exactly. Which is actually...
It was pretty much the happy feeling of the drunk without
So as sad as
bed.
it sounds, like a lot of times we'd be like, well, I'm not going to drink tonight because I'm on Adderall. Like it's not... There's no point.
It's so funny. When I was in LA in March, someone gave me an Adderall.
Huge flex.
Yeah. Someone gave me an Adderall, and it took me like a good 15 minutes. I'm like, this feeling so familiar, but I don't remember it. And then it hit me. Oh, yeah, I used to take Adderall in college.
All the time.
Yeah. It does numb. I mean, that's what all these drugs do in drinking. It just numbs real feelings.
Yeah, who you are.
But eventually, I think you have to come to grips with who you are.
I mean,
You can't be. I don't think you could be a heavy drinker and build yourself as a person.
No, I agree with you. But I was going to say... The reality is you don't ever have to come to terms with that person. I know
when
people
you're drinking, you mean?
Well, yeah, I know people in their 40s and 50s and 60s who get hammered every day, and they've been doing it since they were in their 20s.
Yeah,
it's
man.
like
I'll walk by like a bar, like I'm in a store at like 2 o'clock. People are drinking.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time on McDougal. I go down to McDougal for the mics a lot of times.
Yeah.
At like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, people are just at like bars, like are packed, and I see the same like 4 or 5 people every day, and I'm like, how are you paying for this?
Yeah. It's crazy, but there's a bar by me, Madame Marie's it's called. Like sometimes I'll get back from the city late, like 1:30 or 2 a.m. and I'll walk by. And honestly, to me, I think when you're very focused on what you want to do, I'm like that lifestyle. I really don't have an interest in going back to it.
No.
It doesn't faze me once you're like immersed in what you're doing. And
and you're waking up early, you're going to the gym, and then you got spots at night. Like you got shit going, and you got work, you got the sales job, so it's like you got shit going on.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't. I meditate now. That's like
wow.
I did a half hour. That's why I was late actually.
Meditate.
Did a half hour.
Hey, we'll always.
I have to do it. I have to. It's one of those that's like.
Well, that's the other thing too. Is it's interesting because sometimes if I have a shitty day at work or something, I'll think about like tonight might be the night that I go out and get fucked up. But then I'm like, there goes my week.
My whole thing, yeah.
So it's like I've got podcasts to record, I've got the gym to go to, I've got work, I've got spots. It's like my whole week would be fucked. I actually think
last night may have been my last drink ever. I only had one drink because I felt all those those feelings coming back.
The familiar ones, yeah.
And I'm like, I could have another one and maybe 3, and then it's just like, well, if I had 3 tonight, why would I stop tomorrow? Like, might as well just have some tomorrow. And
yeah.
So you got to really put that line in the sand, I think.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, I'm proud of you
pizza.
for doing it.
I'm like, I'll indulge in something that's not great for you, but not as bad as drinking.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing too. Is like a pizza, it might fuck your stomach up a little bit, but it's not gonna.
You're done.
It's not gonna put you out for 2 days.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's kind of when I did the Zoom AAs. They said it's not a bad idea to indulge in a different vice. If
yeah. Sugar is a big thing. When I first got sober, it was sugar
God.
like
when
crazy.
when I did 3 weeks, I was every night.
Sugar.
One candy, right?
Dude, I got Oreos in the fucking pantry right now, baby.
Oh, I was like I'm more of a candy guy.
Oh, see, I'm more of a cakes, chocolates, cookies guy.
What kind of Oreos?
It's a regular.
Ooh, double stuff?
No, classic, baby.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that though, because the grocery store had double stuff on sale for 2 months. That's what I had in there, and then I just switched back to regular.
Yeah. There's been so many
getting
times
off the rails.
Yeah, there's so many times I've tried to quit drinking though, and then
yeah. Well, I mean, it just depends on like I said, I don't push AA on anybody, but that's what helped me. I know people who just were like, oh, I was getting out of control, so I just stopped, and then I know other people who just didn't.
How
quit.
long were you with your ex for? Not to bring up bad memories.
My most recent ex, we were together for 4 years.
So how did you get through such a tough breakup sober?
Did everything.
Self-improvement, right?
Well, yeah, I have a structure now. Like I have meetings, I have a sponsor, I sponsor other people. Like I do the stuff that I'm told to do every day. Do you find like
really focusing on what you want to do is a good way to get over a breakup?
Yeah, dumping myself into work. Between my regular night job and the podcast and the one-man show, I dumped myself into all that. Just started working out even harder, going to the gym more, started hanging more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
writing down your workouts is helpful too.
I've never done that.
Really?
No.
I like to compare like where I am a week.
Yeah. You know, this is how I compare. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
plug everything one more time. We got to get out of here.
Got Humiliated Pod. We got a bitch test. I'll be, where are you tonight?
I'm at work tonight.
All night?
Yeah.
I'm at the stand tonight. I'm doing Sugar Babies.
Oh, what time's that?
9.
Okay, I might swing by after work then.
What time is work over?
Work should be over around 9 or 10.
Okay, yeah, come by. The stand's always a good hang.
Dude, it's the best hang in the city.
I like it.
I love the Cellar's the best club in the city, but the stand is the best hang in the city.
Yeah, I like hanging out at the stand.
Well, because I try to hang out at the other clubs, it's just you can't.
Yeah, it's too small. The stand's big.
Like New York and stand up.
St. Mark's. Yeah.
It's like you can't hang. There's no place to hang. The stand did it right as far as that's concerned because a lot of the comics hang upstairs.
Yeah.
And you can just chill out.
Yeah, they got the basement. They got the upstairs.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Plug your social media. I don't know if we did that or not.
That Pontillo77 is my Instagram.
Hell yeah. We'll link everything in the show notes.
Yeah, we got it.
Well, thanks for coming on, dude. This will come out for Patreon tomorrow, everywhere Monday.
Nice. Yeah, let me know about
I'll clip it. I'll tag you. And we'll do the whole thing.
Perfect.
At Brennan T Comedy on all social media, BrennanTComedy.com. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Check out the one-man show May 31st at 3 p.m., and we'll talk to y'all next week.
Nice.